It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Why did you not accomplish past goals? Because even if you look at where the origin of this entire show is that I kind of had a sentimental moment where I'm reflecting on some of my past goals.
Sure.
And how they all worked out. And I felt like I should kind of share with you guys some of the things, the journey I went on goal setting. And I think this was instinctual to me. And it kind of blows my mind that when I look back, I'm like, wow, with even somebody like the Money Guy Show telling me to do this, I was just naturally doing it. So maybe somebody could benefit from just knowing this is the behavior you need to do. Yep. So the first time I noticed, now look, I think this goes back to even high school. I mean, I don't want to go. We could spend an entire show me telling you my 3 goals at a time that I had at different stages of life. But here's 2 snapshots I had. I can distinctly remember when I went on my first tour of the University of Georgia when I was a high school senior, considering where to go to college. And as soon as I set foot on that campus, I saw a few things that hit me, just struck me. And these are going to sound odd, but I'm just telling you, this is the type of person I was that I immediately came up with 3 things. I wanted to be a student bus driver. Y'all go like, what does that mean? Anybody who's been to the University of Georgia, you will see big type, the buses you see at Disney World, at all major cities, huge buses, and then you'll see a 20-something driving this thing around. I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
How do I get behind the wheel?
And then when I asked somebody about it, they go, oh, yeah, those are student drivers. And by the way, that is the highest paying job you can have on campus. I was like,
so 2 things. I get to drive a huge piece of machinery, and it's the highest paid job. That's that guy, Brian Preston.
So that was goal number 1. Goal number 2 was when I went to Georgia, they had orientation leaders that were, told you how the campus experience was. They kind of toured you around the campus. And I remember thinking that this guy named Brian Fitzgerald, I still remember his name.
That's awesome.
He gave us a tour. Coolest guy. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like this guy. He's inspiring. He's making me feel like I can do this when I'm scared to death. I was like, I want to be an orientation leader just like this guy. And then the third one was I want to get in the business school and study, because they walk you around the campus of Georgia, and there's a library right as you walk through the arch from downtown Athens. You'll see this beautiful green space where there's courtyards. There's a fountain over here on the side, and I was like, one day I want to go, because the business school's right over here. I want to be in the business school, and I want to study by that fountain right there. I know these sound so weird, but I distinctly remember these visions, and it's now time to kind of look back, because I didn't get into business school originally. I had to go in through the art school. I guess my SAT scores weren't showing the aptitude that I had, but at the time. But here's the kind of the inventory of this. I did become a student bus driver. I actually drove buses so long that I became a trainer of other student bus drivers. That's how long I did this. I loved it. It was a great opportunity. It wasn't until I moved to Tennessee that I lost my commercial driver's license. It broke my heart the day I had to give up my commercial driver's license. Orientation leader, I failed. I'm just straight up. You set goals. Sometimes they don't happen. I have other goals that I've set and they haven't happened.
Sure.
But you can still have failures and still be super successful in the long term.
I think even in terms of like those 2 things right there, you just said something so unique. You had a goal to get into business school. You didn't do it, but you didn't stop, right? You had a goal to get in. You didn't do it. You actually just went a different route. You went a different route to get in there. And then orientation leader, that was a goal you didn't do, but you were able to shift and you were able to go and move and go do something different. When you are setting goals, that's okay. It's okay to attack a goal and to readjust what that goal is, or it's okay to attack that goal and fail and then go back and go after it again and go after it again and go after it again.
So fast forward a few years into my future, I graduate college. I immediately, in the first few years in my career, I knew here was my big goal. I wanted to save $1,000 a month. I wanted to invest. When I say save, I sometimes use save and invest interchangeably. I wanted to invest $1,000 a month. That was a big goal I had. I wanted to make $100,000 by the time I was 30.
Okay.
And then I wanted to have $1 million liquid by the time I was 40.
So as soon as you started your career, you said, I've got these, I'm going to call them milestones. These milestones I want to hit. And you wrote them down and they were tangible. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. And that is what you allowed to guide the decisions that you made in your career.
Well, but I want you to, what's absent from that top 3 goals there? You didn't hear me say I wanted to start a company.
Sure.
I mean, what's interesting, here's what I would tell you. Life is going to happen, because we talked about, the whole title for this section is, why did or didn't you accomplish past goals? Here's what I think is interesting is that I had a horrible life event occur is that when I was in my mid-20s, my dad got sick and passed away within 3 months, 6 months, 4 months. It was kind of 4 months from the time he got the diagnosis and passed away. It shook me to the core because my dad was somebody I called multiple times each week. He was somebody I always looked up to. If you've heard me talk about on shows, super accomplished athlete, did a first person in his family to go to college. I'm on his shoulders in a lot of ways, but he passed away unexpectedly, just really quick in my mid-20s. That altered my worldview in a lot of ways because I recognize he came to all my plays, because here's big athlete, my dad, John, coming to school plays. He had no interest in that, but he supported his son. Came to my basketball and tennis practices. I wanted to be the parent that could also show up at that stuff. I knew I was working and living a life not going to happen. I was leaving the house at 6 in the morning, coming home at 7 at night. There was no way I could do what my dad did for me. So I pivoted the plan. I think you have to pivot and roll with what life gives you. And that's actually what created the desire for me to want to go start my own company because I knew I was going to need to live life a little differently. It didn't change the 3 goals. The 3 goals were still there. But it pivoted. How do you accomplish this? And how does it work with this new worldview that I've now established where family is going to sit at the same hierarchy as what's going on business and financially as well.
What I think is so great about goal setting is it's something that you can actually get better at. It's something you can actually improve upon. So one of the things you have to do, and I love that you set those initial goals of I want to save $1,000 a month. I want to hit this income. I want to hit this net worth. Well, because I know you personally, I know how those goals have shifted over time. And now the goals that you set are actually much better goals than what those were in terms of how you work towards them and how you do that. Well, I think that one of the ways you were able, and one of the ways we're all able to get better at setting goals and setting better goals is by learning from our past successes and failures, learning by the things that we did well that allowed us to achieve the goal, or the things that we did poorly. What did I not do to not be able to become an orientation leader? And if you can do that and sort of do this inventory, it's going to help you work towards that. So we put together some questions you can ask yourself as you think about previous goals that you've either achieved or not achieved and why. What regrets do you have?
Yeah.
What are the things that you did not do that you should have? Or what are the things that you did do that didn't ultimately move you towards your goal? The more quickly you can recall those, the more quickly you'll be able to avoid those in the future.
So regrets are negative. I think, what are you thankful for?
Sure.
I mean, remember, we're trying to keep that optimistic outlook. I think one of the things this is one of the things I do with my children, is when they give me negativity, I say, hey, instead of being so negative and pessimistic about that, why don't you tell me what you're thankful for right now? Because that is a powerful way to turn that negative situation into a positive. And then we also, what goals you've accomplished and how'd you do it? Celebrate those successes because that's important as well.
Absolutely. And then for goals that you didn't accomplish, why didn't you? What was the thing that caused the goal not to be accomplished? Was it because it was a bad goal or a goal that wasn't set correctly? Or was it because some failure that you had that you can improve upon and change on in the future? If you can answer those questions and sort of do an after-action review, you're going to set yourself up that the next goals that you set, the next time you work through the exercise, you're going to be so much more prepared to actually work towards those goals.